Welcome back to the Japan Watch Hunting series. In this trip, we explore some of the best watch spots in Tokyo and Osaka, from dedicated boutiques to vintage specialists and hidden second-hand shops. Nakano Broadway is one of those places that feels like a hidden universe inside Tokyo. From the outside, it looks just another shopping complex. But once you step inside, it quickly reveals itself as a maze of niche passions. Anime, vintage toys, retro cameras, and for those who know where to look, some of the most interesting watch shops in Japan. It's not polished or flashy like Ginza. It's dense, layered, and full of personality, which is exactly why serious collectors are drawn to it. Lost inside this maze is Goodwatch78, one of the smallest shops in the entire building, and easily one of the most interesting. At first glance, it's easily to walk past. The space is compact, almost modest, with most of the watches displayed directly on the windows and showcases rather than spread across a large showroom. But that's precisely what makes it special. Every piece is there for a reason, and nothing feels random or decorative. Despite its small footprint, Goodwatch78 carries an impressive depth of inventory. The shop focuses heavily in vintage and neo-vintage Rolex, with a particular emphasis on authenticity, originality, and long-term collectability. This is not a place built around flashy presentation or high-pressure sales. Instead, it feels like stepping into a workspace somewhere a watchmaker, a seasoned collector would actually spend time examining details, comparing dials, and discussing nuances. What really sets Goodwatch78 apart is its philosophy. This is not a store chasing trends or hype. It's a place built around knowledge. The watches here are not selected because they are popular on social media. They are chosen because they make sense historically and mechanically. Correct parts, honest cases, original dials, and coherent configurations matter far more than cosmetic perfections. You can feel that mindset the moment you start looking closely. The watches are not arranged to impress from a distance. They are meant to be studied. The more time you spend in front of the displays, the more details reveal themselves. Subtle patina, sharp chamfers, original hands, and signs of careful ownership. It's the kind of environment that rewards patience and curiosity. In a building full of fascinating shops, Goodwatch78 stands out not by being loud and flashy, but being serious and deliberate. It's the kind of place where time slows down, where you look closer and where appreciation for vintage watchmaking naturally deepens. For anyone who truly enjoys the process of collecting, not just owning, it is exactly the kind of place that leaves a lasting impression. We have compared a bit the prices from Goodwatch78 with the real market prices and see where they stand. We start strong with a vintage icon, the GMT Master 1675, here labeled as the 1962, and presented with a box. In vintage Rolex, with box is not a cute detail. It often signals a collector-grade piece, because it's just the watch has lived and protected life, has stayed together as a set. The store price show is around 19,000 Swiss francs. The market reference visible in our comparison shows around 11,000 as a market estimate. The gap is meaningful, but is not necessarily irrational. Early GMTs, especially with a strong originality and complete presentation, can sell at premium. What you're seeing here is Japan dealer pricing for a piece that they believe is clean enough to deserve top-end positioning. Next is another 1675, this time shown as approximately 1966, again with a box. This is where the fun begins for collectors because two GMTs can look similar from a distance, but the value swings massively dependently on the dial type, lume, hands, and case shape. The store price is around 21,000 Swiss francs. On the international market, we can see prices range between 24,000 and 27,000. So in theory, in this case, the price is way cheaper than international markets. Then we jump to an even earlier GMT from the 1960s with a box. Early 1670s carry a reference emotional weight. They're closer to the original story of Rolex travel watch era, and collectors tend to treat early examples as historically heavier, even when the watches are mechanically similar. This one is priced around 27,000 francs. In our compilation tiles, there are GMT's examples showing numbers between 17,000 and 9,000, and also extreme outliers like 53,000. The gap is huge, but the shop is positioning the watch on an upper tier collection example. With early GMTs, if the dial hands, bezel, and case are truly correct and strong, the good example becomes very real. Now we switch completely into a different category, the yellow gold GMT Master 1675-8. Gold changes the game because these watches live in a world where bracelet condition, stretch, polishing, and dial configuration can swing the price dramatically. It's also a piece that doesn't feel really Rolex, very 80s, very bold, and increasingly collectible for the reason. The comparison shown beneath looks roughly in the 20,000 and 42,000 range depending on configuration and condition. It's been offered as a strong example in the middle to upper band of what gold GMTs can do. It's a reminder that gold doesn't automatically mean overpriced. It means the market is wider and more condition sensitive. This is a heavy hitter. The man will win. Daytona era sits on the top vintage Rolex collecting for a reason. Production numbers, historical status, and collector demand are all intense. With the 6265, tiny details matter: dial printing, subdial spacing, pushers, bezel condition, case lines, and whether the watch feels original versus assembled. The store price is around 50,000 Swiss francs. In the comparison tiles, we see great price examples around 40,000 to 43,000. That means the shop is definitely higher. And again, the premium could be the box, condition, correctness, or simply Japanese dealer confidence. This is one of the most iconic configurations of the Submariner lineage, a late 1960s example that perfectly captured the transition between early tool watch DNA and the more refined Rolex aesthetics that followed. Presented with its original box, this 1969 Submariner immediately stands apart. It represents a period when Rolex was still producing purpose-built professional watches, yet refining its design language into something unmistakably timeless. The asking price sits around 20,000 francs. On the comparisons, we see values shown between 25 and 31k and higher. That makes the shop price feel surprisingly competitive depending on what exactly this configuration is, how original it is, and whether the dial and hands match correctly. If the watch is truly right, this is one of those moments where Japan pricing can look strong. The 5513 is one of the purest Submariners ever made. No date, clean symmetry, and a silhouette that became the template for what people imagine when they hear vintage sub. This is also a reference where collectors heavily judge dial type, lume, and case shape because the market is full of examples and the best ones stand out. The store price shown is around 14,000 Swiss francs. On the comparisons, we can see the price sits around 11,000 and 14,000. That places the shop price right in the realistic band for a nice 5513 with box. It's not a bargain, but looks good, and it's a great benchmark piece for the audience. Now we move into the Sea Dweller territory. Thicker, tougher, more specialized. The 1665 is a cult reference because it's historically tied to saturation diving and it has a different vibe than the sub. More industrial, more professional equipment. This example is shown at 16,000 Swiss francs. The comparison are in between 15,000 and 21,000. With box and papers, the shop price sits in a strong middle ground. The key point is that the Sea Dweller prices spread widely because correctness matters a lot. Rail dials, great whites, dial condition, and case geometry can swing everything. This is where things go from vintage to grail. A 1967 Sea Dweller in double red territory is one of the most historically significant Rolex dive watches ever made. The red text is what people notice, but the real value comes from scarcity, dial correctness, and survival. The store price shown is around 40,000 Swiss francs, and the comparisons on marketplaces we saw between 45,000 and 48,000, and a higher outlier around 72k. This shows that the shop is not wildly off, it's within the price universe. Whether it's good depends on the dial iron, condition, and completeness. Back to the GMT, and this is an important anchor point. A 1972 GMT that feels viable next to the grails. Early 70s GMT are loved because you get proper vintage charm without needing grail money. This example is priced around 12,000 Swiss francs, and the comparisons shown next to it are around 13,000 to 17,000 on a price on request listing, plus a higher price of 18k example. That places the store pricing right at the bottom to middle of the international range. So not everything in Japan is overpriced, some listings sit right where they should. The 16800 is a transitional classic. It's the bridge between the vintage look and modern practicality. Sapphire crystal, updated movement, but still carrying the old proportions and charm. It's one of the smartest, first serious vintage Rolex reference because you can actually wear it hard. This one is priced at 8,000 Swiss francs, and the comparison shows between 8.4 and up to 16k. The market has a big spread depending on condition. but this shop price sits a very reasonable entry point for a full set. Here we see another Sea Dweller 1978 example, again with box and paper, but priced higher, and this is a perfect teaching that how two similar watches can differ in value. This one is priced on 17,000, and the comparison along the side you can see it's between 15 and 21,000. But the shop is positioned in this example slightly higher than the previous one, likely because of condition and originality or the specific dial case details. With vintage, the reference is only half of the story. The individual example is everything. Finally, we end with another 1972 GMT Master example. And I actually like that you have two, because it shows how the example reference sits in different price points depending on condition, presentation, and how the dealer frames it. This one is priced at 12,000, and the comparisons remain similar, between 12 and 17, up to toward 18,000. That means in between grail level pieces and premium early reference, there's still vintage Rolex watches that feels realistically attainable. What really brings everything together at Goodwatch78 is how the entire space reflects the mindset behind the watches themselves. Beyond the main displays, you start noticing details that most shops simply don't show. Trays filled with original vintage Rolex parts, rows of bezels in every imaginable fade, carefully labeled by reference and era. It's not just inventory, it's a physical archive of watch history. Seeing these components laid out like this tells you a lot about how the shop operates. This is not a place that treats watches as sealed luxury objects. It's a workshop, a reference library, and a marketplace all at once. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and hopefully this gave you a better sense of what makes places like Goodwatch78 so special. It's not just about buying a watch, it's about understanding what you're looking at, why it matters, and how much history is sitting behind a single piece of steel on your wrist. We will keep reviewing the shops we visited during our trip to Japan, and I hope you're enjoying this kind of series. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to explore more shops, more watches, and more hidden corners of the watch world. And if you are into this kind of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along. There's a lot of more coming. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.